welcome to Am Refocused Radio once again. We are here today. Today we have another show lined for y'all. We have a book author who's going to be joining us today. Her name is Ariel Vox. She is the author of the book From Fear to Fierce. It flips the script on failure, fear, and everything that we believe may be holding us back. When it comes to conversation, Am Refocused Radio, we try to dive into deep meaning, purposeful conversation. And I think today is really going to hit the nail on the head. I'm so excited to talk about this because not just from brain science to mindset shifts, we're also going to be touched on spiritual growth. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guest to the show, author Ariel Vox. How you doing?
Hi, I'm really excited, really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I appreciate you being on. Let's kind of jump from the start. When you think about the starting point of this book project, you have a powerful idea that achieving dreams isn't just possible, but inevitable. Where did you get that kind of conviction from early on in your life?
This happened when I discovered that I have inner calling. And it's not just me, but you have inner calling, and everyone has an inner calling. And the only purpose of this inner calling and the only goal is to guide you to your one true desire. We all have many desires. For example, you may want the supercar, the house, the wonderful relationship. Which one is the true desire? And I have a story from my book, that the opening story of the book, that can actually explain this very well. So I heard this story as a joke, but it's not funny. It's actually really, if you get the meaning, it's very deep. So this man, he loved his bottle of alcohol, and he was walking at the beach, and he saw the genie with the lamp. So the genie said, "I grant you 2 wishes. Think carefully. Whatever you want, you can have it." And the man said, "I have nothing to think about. I know what I want. I want a bottle of alcohol that I can never lose, it can never break, and it's never empty." The genie just snapped his fingers, and the bottle was there, beautifully carved bottle. He threw it towards the water, and the bottle returned to him. He drank some liquid, and the liquid restored immediately. The man was so happy. And then the genie asked, "Now tell me, what is your second desire? But please think very carefully, because you can tell me anything, but you can't change your mind. Whatever you want, that's it." The man said, "I have nothing to think about. I know exactly what I want. I just want one more of these bottles." So he had the perfect bottle that can never break, can never be lost, can never be empty. But he wanted to be doubly sure that that's what he gets. He could have wanted wealth, house on the beach, unlimited wealth, right? So he can buy as much bottles as he wants, but that's what he wanted. And I discovered that we all have many desires, but the purpose of these desires is only to reveal what your true desire is, because everything that you can sacrifice for one thing, that's one thing is your true desire. And there is a point in life when, yes, you wanted the supercar, but there is a point when you find what your true desire is, and you no longer even want the supercar because you want something bigger than it. So that one desire that you want with such passion that you're ready to sacrifice everything else for it. And when you get this desire, when you know what this desire is, you get it. No one can steal it away from you, because that's your inner calling. That's why you're here. That's the purpose of you being here.
When you describe fear as something we must confront, speaking of desires, I believe desires is a normal thing that every human, no matter where they are in this world, we all desire something. We all strive for something. Something gets us excited and motivated to do something. But a lot of times fear can get in the way. And when you think about fear from a personal standpoint, what's the biggest fear that you overcame in regards to thinking about the book From Fear to Fierce?
Well, I figured that there are 2 main fears in my life. The first fear was fear of death. because I had a car accident when I was 1.5 years old. I was with my mom, and I literally saw her dying in front of my eyes. So I was very scared. Fortunately, my mom recovered after being in coma for 2 months. But the fear of what happened actually controlled my life until this point. That's why my book is called From Fear to Fears. Because fear has been the main theme of my life. And when I overcame this fear, now, before I get to this point, I can say that I used to travel by bus every week. Because when I was 13, I left home and I studied in another town. So I had to travel by bus 3 hours to get there and come back. So I just want to explain what the extent of my fear was. These 3 hours, I was on my toes. I never slept. I was praying all the time, please help me stay alive. I was so scared. So I was the most scared person you can meet. Actually, I lost my ability to speak when I had the car accident. Then afterwards, I was stuttering, and now I'm on the journey of speaking and helping other people. So I'm so blessed. But yesterday, I attended the funeral, and I realized that I have zero fear of death. I'm not in a hurry, but I have no fear because I know it's another journey. It's even more exciting journey afterwards. I'm not in a hurry. I'm saying it again, but this is not holding me anymore. I used to be scared of buses and planes, and now I'm flying all the time. And I'm actually I'm finding it exhilarating. I always have wonderful thoughts and revelations and ideas for books and everything when I'm up in the sky, literally up in the sky. And my second biggest fear was the fear of failure, and still I'm working. This is a long one. You need a lot of time to overcome it, but I have made a huge jump because fear of failure is actually fear of losing control. So there is a battle between the mind and the soul, and the soul is never scared. The soul is flying in the sky, but the mind always tries to ground you on the ground, lock you on the ground, and the ego also tries to lock you on the ground because it's safer. But then the soul wants you to fly. And you don't experience life fully and truly until you fly together with your soul, because that's why you're here, to rediscover your inner calling, your inner soul. So that's the fear of failure. And the moment you lose control, if you keep your control, you can never fly. You have to lose control to fly. So that's the second fear. And I have done a big jump and I'm going straight towards the sky and overcoming this fear.
Once again, listen to Am Refocused Radio, watching this online, talking to our guest today, book author Ariel Vox. We're talking about her book, From Fear to Fierce. When you think about those seasons, if you will, can't imagine the trauma that you face. Think about that accident at such a young age and seeing what your mom had to go through. Even you said that for a period of time that you lost the ability to speak for a little bit. And from there, you had a stuttering thing that was going on. Then from there, you just kind of kept fighting, kept pushing. And now you're speaking on all these different platforms and telling your story. My question to you is, when you think about those seasons, there's a lot of trauma, like I said, but that can trigger people to be depressed, experience a lot of sadness, and in some cases they can feel alone. For us, what do you believe kept you going? Because you could have stopped living, pursuing your dreams, but somehow that pain turned into something positive.
Well, I realized, and that's not something you realize just like that. It's a journey of realizing it, and you realize it on a deeper and deeper level, that unhappiness is simply a messenger, and it's here to reveal happiness. Because if you think about darkness doesn't exist. darkness is simply absence of light, right? And you have to switch the light on and suddenly darkness disappears. So unhappiness, it's like different rooms in your house. And when you see one is dark, you turn the light on. That's what the reason of unhappiness is, to reveal where you need to turn the light on in your spiritual house. And people, when they're unhappy, they tend to, when I say people, I am in the same box, or have been, and trying not to be anymore. But people try to mask and cover unhappiness. I'm unhappy, like what I do, I have a favorite cafe with really nice cakes, and I'll go and have a cake when I'm unhappy. And instantly, something happens, you become happier, but it's only momentary. It's not long-lasting because you cover up the unhappiness. Actually, you need to go deep inside and uncover what the root of this unhappiness is. Because if you think of children, when a child is unhappy, they're unhappy just for one moment. The next moment you give them something, you smile at them, you tell them something, they're instantly happy. But we as adults, we're not like that. We have forgotten about this. Why? Because unhappiness triggers wounds. Children don't have the same wounds like what we have as adults. So you need to face your wounds. You need to heal them. And that's the only way to actually overcome unhappiness and become happy. The true way to happiness is through unhappiness, uncovering all the layers. So don't kill the messenger. Messenger is here to help you. It's like the walnut has a shell. If you want to eat the walnut, you can't just throw it because it has shell. You have to crack the shell and eat the blessing, right? So if you think about it, when you cut your finger, what hurts is not the cut, it's the inflammation. And who creates the inflammation? It's your body that creates it. Because the way the body heals the wound is by attacking it. The body will send destroyer cells. It will send white blood cells, right? And it will create inflammation, which creates pain, because the body has to attract your attention in some way, shape or form, right? And it has to heal the wound, and that's how the body is healing it. So if your physical body is healing a wound by attacking it, why would your spiritual body do something different?
And when you think about everything you said, like you said about the walnut, the blessing inside, that can be a great metaphor of life can crush you at times. And sometimes the biggest blessing is when you pause and figure out what is the bigger picture in all of this. Because when you think about a lot of times pain, it stops you in your tracks. It's not something like you just, oh, that hurt. It's more like you stop everything you're doing. It interrupts your whole entire life, your whole routine, your whole process, and you give your full attention to that pain. I mean, it grabs you, it grips you. When you think about how you can redirect that pain into something that's positive, that will fuel you towards success. When you think about the challenge that people face in that, what are some ways that you feel that can help them to handle it correctly?
So, when you think of challenges, obviously it's related to stress. And anywhere on the internet space, online, you would hear that stress is something bad. In my book, I have the exactly opposite thesis. Actually, your body is under stress 100% of the time. Like when you sleep, your mind works, your brain works, your liver works and removes the poisons. Your kidneys work, your heart works, your lung works. So Actually, when you're sleeping and you think you're at rest, your body is doing all the work for you. It's doing all the inner healing of the body, right? So stress is actually something very good. When I did my bachelor degree, I wrote a thesis on the subject, on the topic of stress. And all the psychologists, they say that stress is good for you. What is bad for you is distress. There is a big difference. So distress comes for different reasons, but let's focus on stress now. Stress is simply the tension that pulls the bow of the arrow so that it can push the arrow forward. That's what stress is. And if you think about it, when you say put the stress on something, it means putting an emphasis on something. And stress puts emphasis on the areas of your life that you need to deal with, heal, or push you forward. Stress is emphasis. And you have to learn to understand. You need to be grateful for all these things and not just try to remove them from your life. You need to learn what the message is. And it just doesn't happen instantly. You have to put an effort into this. Because if you think about it, stress is here to reveal your purpose. Why do I say that? Because a pilot trains. Where does a pilot train? They don't train in a school. I mean, school for children. They don't train in a hospital. They train in an airplane, right? A doctor trains in a surgery, like a surgeon would train in a surgery. A surgeon doesn't train in an airplane. So the area where you experience the stress is exactly the area where you're training. So that's your purpose. That's where you're going. You need to experience this stress because a surgeon has to go through every stressful situation, and only then they become a good surgeon. So stress is not something bad. Stress is very good for you. Stress, the only reason for stress, purpose of stress is to push you forward. Distress is a different thing, and we can talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah, I like what you said about the arrow, tension, the tension pulling back and releasing to push you forward. I think that's good because in order for you to actually have the momentum, you have to have something that keeps you on your toes, if you will. Yeah. Because if it's not valuable, then obviously you probably are not doing something that's worth the struggle. Usually anything that has any value in it has some kind of struggle involved in the equation. It's not ever given anything ever valuable is not given to someone just because. I mean, too many times we live in society where we are seeing the highlights of everyone's amazing life, but we're not seeing the time that it took for them to accomplish it. In some cases, people get past a silver spoon, but in reality, most of the time, people had to do something about what it took for them to get to where they are. So my next question is, when you think about creating momentum in your book, you mentioned avalanche effect. You described it in the book. For our listeners and viewers, kind of explain what that looks like when we're thinking about creating momentum in their life.
Yeah. Well, there is a famous example that if you double a penny every day, in 31 days, you have more than $10 million, not pennies, dollars. So the second day you have 2 pennies, the third day you have 4 pennies, then 8 pennies, and then in 31 days you have $10 million. So there are 2 ways to expand. Number 1 is the normal safe way that doesn't include any risks. That would be like, today I save 1 penny, tomorrow I save 1 penny, next day I save 1 penny, and in 31 days I have progress. I have 31 pennies. But that's the way you keep your control. And actually, when you are not scared to lose control, then you compound And then you do I call it multi-dimensional jump, because you do something that is impossible in human understanding. When you lose control, so what happens, like if you have one cherry and you plant it in the ground, means you lose control. This cherry is no longer one cherry, it becomes a cherry tree that has unlimited supply of cherries. But that's the compounding effect. That's how you achieve the avalanche effect. And to lose control means to stop relying only on yourself. Because when you rely only on yourself, that's when you have control. It's very scary to lose control, but like if you go on an airplane, you give your life in the hands of the pilot. But if you don't do it, you have to cycle to America maybe, or to Europe, right? So you need to allow someone else to have the control. But the good news is, this someone else is very reliable. It's your inner self. It's your soul. Because your soul is the future version of you. Your soul lives outside time. Because we are restricted by time, but your soul is not. Your soul is limitless. And your soul knows exactly where you're aiming to go. And it knows how to guide you there. It's like your inner sat-nav, navigation system. And I had a dream, and I will only share a short part of this dream about my personal journey. But it was it felt like a whole night of dream. And it was so exhausting and tiring and scary. And I was trying to, because I live in Europe, so I was trying to get to America. I knew I have to go to America. And I was going like from to little offices. And in this office, I meet one person, the other office, I meet another person. And I was always worried, like, this person, did I respond correctly? Did I give them enough help? Did I give them enough support? Did I get annoyed, upset? I was always rediscovering my emotions, because I wanted to make sure I have the perfect response, because this will enable me to go to America. So I have to grow above my ego, and then I'll go to America. And it was like a whole night dream. It was exhausting. And then I woke up, and the moment I woke up, I had a dream in awake state. Like, call it lucid dreaming or whatever you want. I did not ask for it. It just happened. Suddenly, instantly, in just 1 second, I was moved above my body, and I saw that all this was happening inside of an airplane. And all my hustling inside was just building my muscle. Yes, I was growing spiritually, but actually the plane is taking me to America. It's not me, it's not my effort. And please understand that whole night I was struggling and doing and working and sweating over it. But actually the plane was taking me there. And even if I start, I would still be taken there. It was effortless to me. But I need to build the muscle. You still need to do the effort. It's not because the effort will take you there. The last moment, someone from above will intervene, and everything will happen at the right time, at the right space. Everything will be perfect. But you still need to do the effort, because that's your muscle exercising, so you can carry more weight when you get there. Because anything you face in advance, you don't have to face afterwards. It's better to be prepared. So the effort is good, but it's not what's taking you there. So that's the avalanche effect. You do your part, you do your effort, you listen to your soul, and your soul will make sure you get there. In an impossible way, like avalanche. Not like just a little tiny snowball. It will be like an avalanche. It will just happen. I've experienced this many times in my life. So I'm not speaking from, I don't know, from anything, but through experience. I wouldn't say it if I didn't experience it.
Again, this on Refocused Radio, watching this online. Time went by fast, but got one more thing I want to say. When you speak of avalanche and how you described it, I think that's a great way to look at also once an avalanche starts, there's really no way anybody can stop it.
Exactly.
And I want to say that because earlier in the interview, you mentioned about how you used to ride buses for 3 hours, and you still at that time had fear of, certain type of travel, cars, or whatnot. And what you said about the dream, and then at that point of time, the airplane got you to your destination. You did have to become the pilot. I think that's what stops people from experiencing that avalanche of momentum. In other words, when they are in the trenches, in the lab, however you want to describe it, building themselves, educating themselves, preparing themselves, doing the boring work, if you will. All that boring work, it positions you to have that avalanche effect where momentum switches over, and now people around you and other resources around you start to chase after you and what you're trying to do, and they actually help you get to your destination as well. And like you said earlier about the process of meeting all these different people in the dream led to other bigger things and other bigger opportunities. And when we say big, a lot of times it can be superficial. It can be more of a big moment where if you don't do something right now, you end up sabotaging yourself. So my last question to glue all this together in your book is, when we really focus on from fear to fierce, there's something that triggers a person to just do what's necessary and then let go. What's your thoughts on that?
You mentioned self-sabotage, and self-sabotage is a very exciting topic, which I only discovered recently, actually. I only recently started thinking about it. And I realized that self-sabotage has 3 different forms. So one is, I'll give you procrastination as an example. So people think procrastination is laziness. It's absolutely not laziness. It's anything but laziness. And here it's what it is. It can come from 3 different places, and they're completely different expressions of procrastination. So number 1 is when your mind is not aligned with your soul. Number 2 is when your mind is starting to get aligned with your soul. It's a completely different type of procrastination. And the third one is your mind is already aligned with your soul. And this gives you a new, different type of procrastination. I'll give you just a short example of each one. So when your mind is not aligned with your soul, it's actually your soul sabotaging you. Because your soul and your mind, they go in different directions. And when you're in line with your mind, your soul has to sabotage you so you don't go in this direction and you actually take the route that is right for you and for your spiritual growth and for your higher purpose and for your much better future. Because you're holding on to something small that is not good for you. It's like the monkey that grabs something through the fence and then the fence is holding, but the monkey doesn't put the food, right? That's how it works. You hold on something small when you can have something much bigger. So your soul is actually sabotaging you. It's sending difficulties. It's sending all kinds of circumstances so it can reroute you into your true destination. The second type of procrastination happens when your mind starts getting aligned with your soul. And that's when all of your wounds get triggered. You have your fears, you have your self-doubt, you have your low self-esteem, everything gets triggered. And up to this point, you knew what to do. And now you don't know what to do because you don't want to be this old person anymore, but you're not this new person yet. So you are somewhere in the middle, you're confused, you don't know what to do, so you procrastinate because you're confused. All your darkness gets activated, so your fears expand. But that's part of the journey. So you shouldn't be scared. It's part of the journey. It's scary, but you will get there as long as you keep following your soul. And then the third example is when your mind is already aligned with your soul. Do you know what happens then? Then suddenly everything you wanted before, you don't want it anymore. You cared about this supercar. Now it's superficial. You don't care about it anymore. So you procrastinate because all your activity was because you wanted to get that supercar. That was triggering your motivation. You were getting inspired. You were getting active because you wanted the supercar. I want the McLaren. Just an example. But now your mind aligns with your soul, and you see you're here to do something so much bigger and to have something so much more. Because when you get to your higher future and higher destiny, you get everything else as well. But you don't want it. You're not stuck to it anymore. So then there is a different kind of procrastination, because now you don't want to be active because you're not motivated by this thing anymore. So there are 3 different stages, and you have to overcome each one of them in a different way.
Once again, that's Am Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest, Ariel Vox, in our book, From Fear to Fierce. We can probably have another 30-minute conversation, flat out of time, but I do want to say this one small little thing before we sign off. Everything you said today kind of reminded me, growing up from school, we used to have this thing called show and tell. And when I was growing up, it was all decked out. They had curtains, everything, and we basically will be in front of class and we will show and tell. And the funny thing is, throughout the whole school year, it was just a regular thing that the teachers would do. And what I noticed with some students is it was always, in some cases, a contest what can be the best thing I show off, a toy or something that my parents got me. It was always a competition. But towards the end of the year, you started seeing some of the students focus on things that just made them happy. And I don't know why I thought about that, but when you said everything you said, it kind of makes you think about, yeah, sometimes we chase some of the most amazing things, but at the end of the day, it's about what makes you happy.
Yes.
Because happiness is where peace is. And sometimes we get too consumed about trying to show and tell some of the best and greatest things that we feel at that moment is the best and greatest. But at the end of the day, it can just lose its shine. So with that, that's a cliffhanger, but we had to get you back on. But I want you guys to definitely go get Ariel's book, From Fear to Fierce. If they can find you on social media, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way would be to go on my website. It's feartofierce.com. I have social media as well, Ariel Vox. They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok even. But the website would be the best place, feartofierce.com. And it was an absolute pleasure. You're such a interesting person, and your questions were really amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, like always, what we say our guests want to say to you, thank you for your time.
Thank you.